Hey explorers, it's Justin again. You're almost qualified for the urban planning job you graciously accepted at the beginning of the unit. So, to review everything you've learned in your job training, we're visiting one last world-famous city, Johannesburg, South Africa. With 14.8 million people in its metro area, Johannesburg is a massive megacity and an economic and cultural giant in Africa. The city's known as Africa's financial capital, home to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and plenty of multinational corporations. It's also a hub of art and culture, home to films and hip-hop groups that are popular around the world. But Johannesburg has urban planning challenges to work through as it grows. And that's why we're here. You'll be using everything you learned in your training to propose solutions for this fast-growing city. All right, explorers, let's get into it. To understand Johannesburg's current urban planning challenges, we need to study how and why the city grew in the first place. Look at this information about the city's geography to figure out the site and situation factors that supported the growth of a major urban center. For centuries, indigenous groups like the Tswana, Sotho, and Zulu lived on the Witwatersrand Plateau, where Johannesburg now sits. This area's flat land, mild rainy climate, and high elevation were all site factors that made it a safe and convenient place to settle and support a growing population. But the real population boom came after a huge discovery: gold. Proximity to the largest gold deposit in the world was a situation factor that attracted British and Dutch colonizers competing for control of these resources. The colony built around gold mining grew to become Johannesburg, but the city's geography presented an early urban planning challenge. It was landlocked. The nearest river was dozens of miles away, and there were no nearby coastlines to use as ports for the city's gold trade. If you were an urban planner in Johannesburg's early days, what infrastructure would you prioritize? Johannesburg solved its water issue by building infrastructure to pump water from the faraway Vaal River. The city also built roads and railways to connect its gold trade to port cities like Cape Town and Durban. These infrastructure decisions helped keep Johannesburg's population growing and its economy flowing. And as Johannesburg's economy and infrastructure evolved, so too did its land use. In your notes, see if you can match these stages of Johannesburg's urban development to the urban models that best describe them. Johannesburg's structure followed the concentric model first, built around the region's gold mines as its central business district. As the city developed railway systems for its mining industry, its structure morphed into the sector model. When Johannesburg's economy diversified into finance and technology, it developed new CBDs, shown by the multiple nuclei model. And as Johannesburg's suburbs grew into edge cities, it reflected the galactic model that best describes the city now. Now that you know about how the city grew, I think it's time to tackle the urban planning challenges Johannesburg's facing today. Like many other fast-growing megacities, one challenge Johannesburg faces is managing its ecological footprint. What do you think are the top contributors to the city's growing ecological footprint? Look at your guided notes for some clues. Johannesburg's top source of emissions comes from coal power plants generating electricity for the city's energy needs. And since Johannesburg sits on a plateau, its water pumping infrastructure has to pump water uphill to reach the city, which uses a lot of energy. Finally, there's urban sprawl. Johannesburg is super spread out, with single-use zoning separating residential areas from commercial centers and workplaces. Most people depend on cars for transportation, which is a huge source of emissions. Along with environmental challenges, Johannesburg also struggles with social inequality. This inequality is rooted in the city's history of apartheid, a political system that separated South Africa's residents by race. This system gave more rights and resources to white residents than black residents. South Africa's apartheid was abolished in the year 1990, but the system's impact is still visible in South African cities. Look at this image to see how racial inequality impacted Johannesburg's urban planning. Apartheid created racially separate neighborhoods, and there's a clear gap in the standard of living between predominantly white and predominantly black neighborhoods. Johannesburg's wealthier white neighborhoods have larger homes, more green spaces, and less pollution from industrial activity. The city's lower income, historically black neighborhoods, meanwhile, are more crowded, with less green space and more pollution. This is especially true in predominantly black informal settlements like Soweto, a community created during the apartheid era. Informal settlements like Soweto struggle with access to basic utilities like clean water and electricity, and are farther away from job opportunities in commercial centers. To make these long commutes, lower-income communities depend on minibuses, a public transportation system known for often being crowded and unreliable. Wealthier residents, on the other hand, have access to their own cars and live near major highways, making it easier for them to get around the city. All right, now that we've explored Johannesburg's environmental and social challenges, it's time to think like an urban planner to propose solutions for a more sustainable and equitable city. To address the city's challenges, Johannesburg's urban planners developed a long-term master plan, Johannesburg's Spatial Development Framework 2040, or SDF 2040. But instead of just telling you what's in the master plan, you, the urban planner, are going to figure it out. We'll start with the environmental challenges. Use your guided notes to choose 3 strategies that you think SDF 2040 includes to manage Johannesburg's ecological footprint. To cut coal emissions, SDF 2040 is investing in renewable energy by building more green buildings with solar power infrastructure. To reduce energy use from the city's water pumping, SDF 2040 is also developing rainwater harvesting infrastructure so the city can use rainwater for everything, from sinks to toilets. And to curb urban sprawl, SDF 2040 is shifting the city from single-use to mixed-use development, which reduces transportation emissions from long car commutes. SDF 2040 also has to address the inequalities that lower-income, predominantly black neighborhoods experience because of apartheid's legacy. That's why SDF 2040 prioritizes equitable development too. Look at these strategies in your guided notes and choose 2 that you think lower-income residents most urgently need to raise their standard of living. To improve transportation equity, SDF 2040 invests in Rea Vaya, a modern, safe, and affordable bus network that connects informal settlements to job centers. SDF 2040 also directly supports informal settlements with upgrades to housing, roads, and basic infrastructure. And predominantly black neighborhoods near the city center, previously ignored in the apartheid era, are being revitalized with new apartments and businesses. But remember, urban revitalization often comes at a price. How do you think these new developments are impacting lower-income black residents? High-income, predominantly white residents are moving to these historically black neighborhoods. This gentrification is raising the cost of living and displacing lower-income black residents. What 2 strategies do you think SDF 2040 is using to prevent displacement as historically black neighborhoods become gentrified? SDF 2040 advocates for participatory urban planning via public meetings and workshops. Now, black residents, often ignored in the apartheid era, have a say in how their neighborhoods are developed. SDF 2040 also uses inclusionary zoning to prevent displacement. Developers must include affordable housing units alongside new developments, leading to more integrated, mixed-income communities. SDF 2040 is ambitious, and its implementation isn't perfect. Still, it's a great example of a long-term plan that can help Johannesburg's urban planning overcome its divisive apartheid past. Thanks for joining me today, explorers. Today we saw how Johannesburg's geography and apartheid system shaped its current environmental and social challenges. But with SDF 2040, urban planners are using strategies from solar energy to inclusive zoning to tackle these challenges head on. Johannesburg, like every city we visited in this unit, shows that urban planning isn't just about infrastructure and zoning laws. It's about building just, sustainable cities for the good of their people and the planet. And with more and more people moving to urban areas, this task is more important than ever before. Based on your performance today, I'd say you're officially ready to pitch the master plan of your own dream city. I can't wait to see what you dream up, explorers. I'll catch you in the next unit, where we'll take a look at globalization in the modern world. Until then, keep exploring. See you next time.